You're listening to Trifecta Magazine. I'm your host, Timothy McCain. And Trifecta Magazine, we interview boxers, mixed martial artists, and sports figures. Come check us out at Trifecta Magazine. You're listening to Trifecta Magazine, and I am here with Airele, the Creaaaation Davis, who is representing Haiti in the 2021 Olympics. Airele not only has a 21-3 amateur background as a boxer, she also previously had a basketball career at the University of New Orleans and was a basketball standout at her in Alexandria, New Orleans. How you doing today, Airele?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. So your first passion wasn't boxing, it was basketball. Just talk about what led you to playing basketball, because you started at the age of 5 years old, correct?
Correct. So I'm from Alexandria, Louisiana, small city in Louisiana. A lot of people probably don't know about it, but it's definitely, homebred in the South, smack dab in the middle of Louisiana, 3 hours away from New Orleans, where I reside right now, and where I went to school for college and basketball. So I started out, actually softball was actually my first sport.
Oh, wow.
And then, softball. And then I picked up the basketball. My mom seen me dribbling the ball outside. And I just always been an outside type of little girl. Like, I never wanted to be inside. I always wanted to be outside playing with the boys. Inside was not my thing. I never played with Barbie dolls or anything like that. It was always sports. I wanted to be active. So, I picked up the ball, then, I played basketball all up into my high school. And then I realized that in order for me to take my life to the next level, I don't know if anybody listening or will be able to relate, being from a small city like Alexandria, your concept on life is very small. So I knew that I wanted to be much bigger than my surroundings. And in order for me to make it out of where I was, I needed to get a scholarship. So, and I knew that, my mother probably couldn't afford to send me to college, etc. So I worked very hard to get a scholarship. I used to have to travel like 3 hours away for AAU practice, because we know that in order to get a scholarship in basketball, you have to go to these AAU tournaments so scouts can see you. So I would travel to AAU practice so that I can go to these tournaments and be seen. And then I got a call from the University of New Orleans for a Division I scholarship in the Southland Conference. And I was there for 4 years. And that's how my basketball career took off. And from basketball, I went straight into boxing. I can tell you a little bit about that too, how I transitioned from being a collegiate athlete in basketball to boxing.
Absolutely. But before we get into that, I want to dig deep into who were some of the role models, the basketball, the sports athletes, the female or even the male athletes that you looked up to as a kid, that you wanted to style your softball, your basketball career, right, and then as well as your now boxing career.
Right. So somebody that I truly looked up to is like, they were all close knit to me. They were never really anybody like celebrities, right, or somebody that was already established in the game. It was really my family. My auntie, her name's Keisha James, and she used to be a basketball phenom back in my city, and she went to Pineville High School, which was my high school. And I remember my grandfather used to tell me when I was younger, and because I was coming up underneath her, he used to have this room, right, and it was full of her awards, her accolades, how she was Miss Louisiana. She got a key to the city of Alexandria, and that's huge for the city of Alexandria where I'm from. That's huge to have a key to the city. And she scored I think 60 points in one game, and she holds this record at my high school. And it was my auntie, and I'm like, man, I need to be better than her. I wanted to be better than her, right? I wanted to beat her records and low-key make my grandfather and her proud. And I never reached her records or her heights, but through that pushing me, it's taken me to levels that I've never even thought that I could go, right? So I would say that my auntie was definitely a role model. She probably doesn't even know how big of an impact her career and her life had on me as an athlete. And then I will also say another female, Kayla Guidry. She's another one from my city that she probably doesn't even know. It's like a lot of people, like I was always really quiet. And a lot of people don't even know that I was paying attention when they were pouring into me. Like I really paid attention. And it's like I always had this bucket full of potential, right? I always had so much potential. And my potential just took me a little while for me to blossom, and it's blossoming in boxing now. And I will also say my coach, my high school coach and my college coach. So my two coaches and then those two women, and I definitely would say my mother for protecting me in my childhood growing up. She placing me in the right opportunities, doing what she could as a single mom raising 3 kids. Definitely. So it was pretty much all women. All women were definitely my role models and what inspired me to be where I am today.
I got you. So with the role models that you've had, the people you talked about how they poured into you, is that what led you to? Because for you, it's not just boxing; it's deeper than boxing. You want to use your platform to inspire others, to educate others. You actually, in an interview I listened to, you talked about how you want to start a school. Is it because of the women, and then your grandfather that poured into you? Is that same type of pouring into you want to pour into the next generation? Is that correct?
That is all I care about. That is all I care about. So I believe that it's so much bigger than boxing, like you said. I'm much more than a boxer. I'm a fighter in life, right? Meaning I fight for change. I fight for legacy. I want to go down as a pioneer, right? I want to go down as a pioneer. And I know that in order to be a pioneer, you have to be a warrior some type of way. Right. And boxing is just my way of showing that I have warrior mentality, that I have warrior blood inside of me. Right. It's much bigger than that. So what I want to do through my platform of boxing, right? I get this platform, I get this following, and I see people, I build up this fan base. Then I will transition in showing, and also through my career, I want to show the truth about our people and what we really need to take heed to, meaning the food that we eat, how do we live on a day-to-day basis, what's important, what's the principles that are vital to a healthy life and a healthy spiritual life as well. You see what I'm saying? So absolutely. I definitely want to eventually open up my own school and be able to pour into kids and give kids the correct opportunity, kids of color for sure, especially. You know what I'm saying? So especially in kids from lower income homes and communities, and kids that are from a city like me that may not have the concept on life because they're in such a small city, right? And it's crucial because now we live in a day of social media and things can be misconstrued so easily, right? I was blessed to be able to. I was born in the 90s, meaning I still have a little bit of how I went outside and I played outside away from my phones, but I also grew up in the epidemic of the cell phones. Like I'm right there. I was right there in the 90s. So I have a little bit of both. I understand how crucial it is that we need to get back to earth. Like we need to get back to nature. We need to get the kids back outside playing with each other and not on these cell phones 24 hours a day. You see what I'm saying? So that's super important to me, and I'm super passionate about that. And I know that boxing is a way that I can grasp people's attention to get them to listen to what I have to say. So.
Absolutely. We know that's an interesting perspective that you talked about, because I too was kind of raised in that era where it was before the whole social media age, and then now you see 5-year-olds playing with games all over again. They don't even want to go outside. They don't know what outside is.
Right.
So
right. It saddens me. It really does. It's like I see the pros and the cons on both ends, but the cons outweigh the pros for me. It really does. It really does. The cons outweigh the pros for me as far as the social media. Like I'm happy that I can get a 5-year-old, right? And they can sit here and they can have the confidence enough to get on TikTok or get on the camera and, and show their personality. But I want to know, can that same 5-year-old go outside and plant a seed that can grow into an herb that can heal their body, feed them food, understand why this plant is vital for your existence. And you know what I'm saying? These are the type I want to know. I want to know if that same 5-year-old can do both. And that's what's most important. Because the cell phones, everything else can tarnish away. Like it could go away. Right? Earth is going to be here after we're gone.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah, that's a passionate subject for me for sure.
When did you come to the knowledge of not only your culture, but also to think, because most people they enjoy social media, they overuse social media. When did you understand knowledge of self, understanding your history, understanding your blackness, as well as understanding the balance of social media?
Well, I would probably say back when I was, and that's why again, boxing is so close to my heart and my spirit, because I started to understand all of this through the sport of boxing. And yeah, and that's my honest answer. I understand it. I started to understand myself way more through the sport of boxing. I was about 20 years old, 19, 20, right? 19, 20, and I was a junior in college, and going into my senior year that summer, when I was about to turn 21, I believe, going into my senior year this summer, because we practice over the summer in college, of course. Basketball is year round pretty much, and I wanted something different. Like I told you, I've always had a bucket load of potential, and my basketball college career wasn't going the way that I had envisioned it to go. Everybody was looking for me to go in and be this star and change the program, and I did well. I did decent, but I didn't live up to what everybody else was expecting of me. And honestly, in the worst case, I didn't live up to what I was expecting of me. And I knew that, I had 1 year left to make a difference. And I had got way overweight. I was like 190 pounds playing basketball. There's no way that I should have been that big. And I said at about 5'8". That's too heavy, right? I'm an athlete. So going into my senior year in the summer, I was sitting on the lake, because I'm in New Orleans. They have a lakefront, and I took a lot of time that summer being by myself and searching for self-awareness and who I am, and going through those questions that I feel like we all go through at some point in our life, when we actually sit down and yearn to find out our bigger purpose, because everybody has a purpose. We're all very powerful, right? It just takes a switch in our head to want to be open to that understanding of who you are. So that switch happened, and I adhered to it. I didn't run away from it. I didn't shy away from it. I adhered to it. And something told me to walk inside of the boxing gym. I'm serious. I was sitting on the lake, me and my best friend, and we said, let's go box. I've never had a fight a day in my life. I've never picked up a pair of gloves, nothing. Like, I had one little tussle in junior high with a girl in the hallway, but that was it. That was it. So we went inside of a boxing gym, and after that, I picked up on it like it was like I was eating some fruit. Because it was that simple. Like, it was that simple to me. And once I started realizing what boxing did for me and how it challenged my mind and how it challenged my spirit, I realized that boxing isn't boxing. Boxing is life for me. Like, I box every day, in and outside the ring. When I wake up, when I look at myself in the mirror, when I have goals to reach, when I need to go to sleep at a certain time to reach these goals, when I need to read a page in a book that I set for a goal this week to read 30 pages, right? That's boxing. That's winning. That's fighting yourself. When I step in the ring, I'm not fighting another opponent. I'm fighting myself. That's how easy it is for me to look in somebody's eyes when we have a weigh-in and stare down. I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at the me that's trying to stop me. Wow. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm so adamant about really taking my career to the next level and getting everything that I can out of this career, because I don't plan to be in this sport for long, but I plan for my career to blow up, and boom, and that's how I'm gonna get what I really want. This is my gateway to my true passion, right? So that's what happened. That's when it happened for me. It happened through boxing. I was about 21 years old, and I'm 25 now, so about 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow, that's amazing. So when you talk about me versus me in the ring, what have you discovered about yourself in the ring when you've had to go at it with another girl who wants it as bad as you?
Right.
What have you discovered about yourself in the ring?
I can definitely say that I am everything. I am everything. Okay, so it's a thing that my college coach, right? That's one thing about me. I'm a student. I'm a learner. I love to play chess. I love to play chess. When you think that I've given up, it's like I'm nowhere near giving up. Like nowhere near. Like I challenge I don't need, like, I learned how to like self-motivate. That is the biggest, that's for anybody, athlete or not. When you learn how to self-motivate, you cannot be stopped. Right? I don't need somebody on side of me to push me. I don't need a person in training camp to be like, go hard, or, you need to do this, you need to do that. No. I've learned how to coach myself strength and conditioning wise. I know how to coach myself if my coach is out of town. I know how to coach myself to do my miles, to do everything, to read, to study, to figure out what to put the right things in my body. I am a student, therefore I will be a great teacher. You see what I'm saying? So What I've learned about myself in the ring is that I am like nothing. My perseverance is untouched.
Wow.
It really is. My perseverance is untouched. And I've learned that when I take an L, like I have 3 L's on my record, right? When I take an L, I don't fold. I come back 10 times harder. After I took my last L, which was in 2018, I came back and I won 2 national titles. Every loss, I've come back even harder. So that shows me. And when you learn something about yourself, it's very important that you observe that you are your biggest study. You yourself is the biggest study in life that you'll ever do. Right? Like you go to school and you study these subjects. You are your biggest study subject. That's how I look at me. I pay attention to my flaws. I pay attention to what distracts me. I pay attention to what motivates me. What motivates me is me. When I lose, quote unquote lose, that motivates me because that shows, okay, Airele, you have something to work towards. And I love having something to work towards. I love having my back against the wall. I love pressure. I love pressure. A lot of people, say pressure is certain types of pressure. Don't get me wrong. Too much pressure is not always healthy, but the right amount of pressure has to be applied. It has to be applied because science doesn't lie. Pressure makes diamonds, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So science doesn't lie. So yeah,
that's amazing. To have that teachableness, because not everybody has that teachableness. Not everyone has that that humbleness, that awareness to look at themselves and see the issues.
Right.
So for you, when it came to that, was it something that you developed over time, or was it like by your parents, your family that poured into you, or was it something over time that you just discovered within yourself?
I say it definitely was something over time. If you ask anybody, like if you were to interview my mom or my sister or even my best friend who've been knowing me since and watching me grow into the woman I am today, they'll tell you that the Airele now is nothing like the Airele that they once knew. If you interview all of my teammates, when I came back after that summer and I started boxing and I dropped 40 pounds over the course of 3 months, everybody's face dropped. Right? Everybody was like, what the hell? I was walking different, talking different, acting different. I had became a new creation. That's how I came up with my name. Because I'm not really, I'm not no religious or anything of that nature, right? But if you read, I'm fond of the books. If you read the first scripture in the Bible, God created the heavens and the earth, right? Everything starts with creation, meaning in order to create, you have to think it, right? You have to think first. The thought has to be present. And that's why I came up with that name, because I created myself. I recreated myself into the person that I am today. It was definitely God-given, like everything else. It was definitely God-destined. But that's why we all have free will, quote unquote, a choice, right? We have to choose, and we have to walk in that choice. And I chose, and I walked in that choice. So I would say that it definitely me being humble, and I'll die being humble, right? And I was always very like I guess too nice. That's what people would say. I was too nice, and sometimes even call me naive, right? Yeah, even so. But I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for it. Like a lot of people say, I used to turn the other cheek a lot, but I was always just paying attention. I was always paying attention, and I'm very thankful for the little girl that I grew up being, because in order for the woman that I'm becoming, I had to be that little girl first. I had to, right? I had to take my L's and learn and listen and watch and be pointed out as that person in order to be the strong woman that I am today. So.
Absolutely. What was the process like when it comes to joining the Haitian boxing team, and what is it like for you to represent Haiti?
Man, I am. A lot of people say I've had a lot of people ask me, why didn't you, try out, go to the Olympic trials, which I could have easily, right? I could have went competed easily, but I've always I have a shirt that I made back in 2019 when I was training for the Olympics in 2020, and on the shirt there's a scripture that I'm really fond of, and because I went to this camp back in 2017. I went to this camp back in 2017, and it was a camp full of athletes. And I went, and one of the exercises, they were trying to break us down as athletes, but mentally prepare us with scripture, right? They were using scripture. And as we were planking, they wanted us to plank, and they wanted to see who was gonna fall first, and they had people walking around screaming scripture in our ear, motivating us, and I think it was like 300 athletes, right? And it was me and like 4 other athletes that was left standing, and I was the only female. Wow. And I held an 18-minute plank. And 18 minutes is a long time. I still don't know how I did it to that day. But the scripture that kept replaying in my head was, therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to order yourself as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. So I've always felt like I was a living sacrifice, right? That's honestly how I feel, and I feel like my purpose is so much more greater. And it's crazy or coincidental that Catherine Sterling and Nicholas Rubin, they're 2 of my other teammates on the team, and they seen me competing in the national tournaments. And for some, it was crazy because Nick didn't even know that I was Haitian. But one day he randomly asked me, "Hey, are you Haitian?" And I said, "Yes, I am. My father's side is." And he was like, "Man, you need to think about representing Haiti in the 2020 Olympics." And this was in 2000. I called Kat back in 2019, I believe, and we sat on the phone for an hour. And after that, I made my decision. I was like, this is definitely why I'm boxing at this point right now, because Haiti's never had a woman to represent them in history before. And after I started researching my Haitian history way more and knowing my bloodline and where I really come from, it wasn't no choice. It wasn't even a choice anymore for me. Of course, I'm going to take that role because I'm a revolutionary. That's how I feel. That's how I'm built, and that's how I think. Right? The Haitian Revolution was the biggest revolution in history. Period. And what they fought for is something I'm fighting for. Now, in today's time, right? I'm fighting for freedom for my people and of our minds, and who we truly are, for us to redefine ourselves, for us to unlock our truest potential, for us to get out of, that slave mentality, that victimization mentality. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely, that's exactly why I chose to go represent Haiti, because I know when I win the gold medal for Haiti, I know there's going to be questions on why Airele, why Haiti, why this, and then that's going to be my gateway in order to share and show exactly what I'm trying to expose, right? So it's perfect. It's the perfect setup.
I think that's wonderful. We definitely, for you, the one thing that I'm curious about is like you have the Haitian side, but you also have the African American side, correct? So you have
Right.
that blend. What was that like growing up, understanding both sides, the Haitian side as well as the African American side, and almost what you're representing, which is like the unification of African Americans and Haitians?
Right. I remember like growing up, what it means to me is like, okay, so when I would go and spend Christmas with my dad and my grandma, my mommy and my papi, I remember like very predominantly the food, right? The Haitian food. I remember trying green chicken for the first time. Yeah, I remember trying green chicken for the first time and eating plantains and what I can say is one thing that was prominent on both sides is that culture and like family knit was always like prevalent. Money was never really big on either one of my sides in my family, but what I can say is that family and close knit, the close knit bond that I was seeing growing up was always there. So being African American, definitely, because I was raised with my mom, right? Being African American and growing up basically a minority, because we really didn't have that much, but we may do. I know that's where my humbleness comes from. I know I don't need much in order to survive, right? Wow. I don't need much. Like I can make do with what I have, and I went without while I was young, but that's what made me who. That's why I have the type of attitude I have. Like I don't need much in order to go forward. So whenever I do get things, I won't be attached to these materialistic things. I'm never going to have that issue, which is a blessing in disguise, right? Yes. It's either like I can be like, oh, I went without, but I can say, well, I don't need those things anyway, because what I went through built character. You can't. What I went through built something intangible. It built something that exists within me. So I'm happy that I have the type of background that I have. I really am. I'm very blessed.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What are your personal keys to success, and what advice would you give to a young girl, a young boy who saw what you were doing and wanted to be like you when they grew up?
Definitely. I would say to love yourself. That's my number one, is to love yourself. Because when I would tell any young girl or young little boy, and I come across them so often in the gym, and I spend time with them, and I ask them these deep questions that they're like, why are you talking to me about this? I don't want to talk about this. But I do it anyway, because I remember that we remember as children. Our memories as kids is what shape us into the adults that we are today. So I know that in those years, it's vital. Whoever you come across in your childhood is vital, and they can have an impact and impression on you. So I would ask them every time they wake up and they brush their teeth in the mirror and they look at themselves in the mirror, I would ask them, do you tell yourself, do you love yourself? Do you look at you, and are you in love with who you see? Wow. And I would tell them to fall in love with the person in the mirror, because we come into this world alone and we're going to leave alone, right? We are our best friend. We are our best friend, and the spirit that resides inside of us is stronger than you. I'm getting chills because it's that true. It's so true for me, because I know how powerful it is to unlock that truth about yourself, right? So I would ask them, do you love yourself? To love yourself, learn how to love yourself, spend time with yourself. Then I would say you have to be consistent, consistent in whatever it is, consistent in loving yourself. Even when you mess up, even when you disappoint yourself, still love yourself, right? then I would say learn yourself. Learn where you come from. Learn your background. Learn your legacy. Learn your ancestral history. I would tell them to learn who you are. You know, it's school. The schools. That's why the school is so important, and education is so important, because what we learn, when our brain stops developing at 25 years old, right?
Yes.
And we start really locking in at 5. So from 5 to 25, those are vital years for educational purposes. Those are vital years whenever we're learning. We need to be learning the correct things. In our schooling system in America, really is it's not the best as far as the truth goes, right? So it's gonna take some, but we have some good pioneers in the works right now, doing the right thing in order to reverse what's been done in history, you know, as far as the schooling goes, and unlocking the truth about where everything came from and who made this and who made what. All right, so
yes,
that's what I definitely would. So love yourself, learn yourself, be consistent in loving yourself, consistency, and learn where you come from, for sure. And that, because it all has to do with self. It all has to do with yourself.
That's amazing. Where can the people find you on social media? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. The people need to know. For the people listening, I'm telling you, Airele's energy, her spirit is amazing. It's contagious. Y'all gotta support y'all girl.
Definitely.
Y'all gotta support. Show love.
Gotta support. It's going up, man. In the next 3 years, it's gonna be a staple name. Like sooner than that, hopefully. But I know for sure in like the next 3 years, I'm gonna be a staple name in the sport and just in general, you know. And my Instagram is Creaation with 4 A's. Creation with 4 A's. I don't have a Twitter account yet or Facebook, but I do plan on making one very soon. But my Instagram account is very active. You guys can go there and follow me. And I also have t-shirts available. All you have to do is DM me if you would like to grab a Creation tee. Hoodie is very nice. So just let me know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Airele, thank you very much for your time. God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you.
Thank you.